Hi everybody. Today I've got Sioned Hughes with me, and Sioned heads up the recruitment practice at Altair, particularly focusing on the housing market, exec and non-exec roles, but here to talk about the non-exec or trustee aspect of that today. So Sioned, we would love to hear, what are your tips for people that are applying for NED roles?
Well, thanks for the opportunity. That's brilliant to be here. To begin with, I would absolutely say read the person spec, read the role really carefully, and make sure that actually some of it speaks to you. If you do have questions, then I would take up the offer at the beginning before putting an application in to speak with either the organisation itself or with advisors such as us. That's what we're there for when we're providing that support. I think it's quite tricky finding that balance between do you meet the criterion? Too often I find people that absolutely fulfill the role but still have question marks about whether they should apply. And then you do have others that might not have the key skills that they're looking for. They might be, a long distance away. There's no clear link between why they're applying and why the organisation, why they're interested. If you do meet some of that criteria, do also make sure that you speak to someone in the organisation if the offer's there. I think it's invaluable, and then they can either encourage you or perhaps suggest maybe this time is not the right one. You need to demonstrate that you've done some of your research about the organisation. You don't need to be gushing about them, even though many do like to hear that. But it is about explaining what draws you to the organisation, why, what about that organisation has made you want to apply and want to join. I think that's really important. And don't reel off facts and figures. They know that, but it is about, maybe align your values with their values. The value piece, the customer piece is really important. We still find too many applications coming in, and the name of the organization is not even in there. So, it does waste people's time when that happens. One of the other things I think is really important is to demonstrate your impact. So when you're listing, when you're saying what you've done, maybe in your CV, very often people just list, I've done X, Y, and Z, but it doesn't demonstrate the impact or the outcome. I think it's really important to show what you've done and how what you've done has had a positive impact. And I think with that, try and keep your descriptions quite concise. So don't go to that mundane day-to-day things, but just tell that story. I think it's really interesting. It breaks it up so much when you do demonstrate things, but keep it quite concise and highlight your key outcomes. Keep a personal statement. I would say 2 pages for a cover letter should be ample, and CV 2 to 3 pages maximum. I think that should be fine. It's a lot to read through otherwise. Do keep to the limits people say. And in your personal statement, if they don't state it, obviously you need to be complimenting what your CV says and really drawing out what the person spec is asking for and highlighting how you can deliver that. Just be mindful when you are writing your CV or writing the personal statement that it is a board role that you're going for. So really focus on the role of a board member, and that will demonstrate your understanding, particularly if you're applying for the first time, understanding that the strategic role, the horizon scanning, bringing those elements through in terms of what you've already done in your day to day will be really helpful. If you're applying for something and you're thinking, well, I am a long distance away, or maybe I haven't got something that you're asking for, please deal with that in your statement. I think it's always best to face the elephant, as big or small, in the room, because they will be thinking that when they're reading it. And I think the fact that you put it out there, say how you'd get over it, that there isn't an issue or that you've considered it if there's a conflict, I think that is a big plus in any application. They were more of the do's. I've got a few don'ts. The typical things are, jargon and stuff in your CV, things that make it hard for somebody that isn't right in your industry. I'm thinking maybe of particularly finance people. I think a good finance person that can articulate their impact without the jargon is absolutely a gem. And I think being able to tell a story to people is absolutely key. Less is more in that. People are building up portfolios of opportunities and roles now, and Absolutely, people should be aware of that. But do organizations and clients want to read that in a personal statement? Probably not. This will be what form one part of my portfolio. I think it's a difficult one, but I think it's probably best not to make it as clear a statement as that at this stage. Not all organizations are quite there in accepting that, but it is an interesting one. Sometimes people's personal emails can be really weird. I'm not suggesting you change it, but it does leave something if, your email is the boss at something. You've got to kind of think about that. That was something I just thought I would share. And I think the final one, and it's probably not for the CV, unless is not to talk negatively about any previous organizations or anything. You've got a good experience and you've learned from it and as something that went wrong and how things changed, absolutely fine. But I think keep it anonymous.
So, anyone watching that, I hope you found it helpful to hear Sioned's tips on your CV and cover letter. It should be different to your exec CV. There's ways in which you should be adapting that, and hopefully you've got loads of tips from that conversation. If you haven't yet, please do sign up to Dynamic Boards. You'll see we've generally got about 80 to 100 roles live at any time. You can check out the roles and get applying. Thank you, Sioned, so much for your time. I really appreciate you sharing those thoughts with us.
Thank you for the opportunity.